All right, so today we're diving into something pretty fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, turning obstacles into opportunities.
Okay.
And we've got some really amazing sources lined up for this one.
Oh, wow.
We've got ancient Stoic wisdom like Marcus Aurelius himself.
Okay.
We've got stories of legendary business giants like John D. Rockefeller.
Uh-huh.
And we're even going to look at the incredible resilience of athletes like Tommy John.
Interesting.
Yeah, so consider this your cheat sheet for turning roadblocks into stepping stones.
I like it.
Yeah.
You know what's really interesting to me is that even though these sources span centuries
Right.
and come from completely different walks of life,
Totally.
they all seem to converge on one key point. Obstacles aren't just things to be avoided.
Yeah.
They can actually become the path to growth and success.
Okay, I love where this is going already.
Yeah.
So let's unpack this idea a little bit, starting with the Stoics.
Right.
Marcus Aurelius famously said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that the obstacle often becomes the way forward.
Right.
How does that even work in real life?
Well, the Stoics were really all about understanding what we can and cannot control.
Okay.
They believe that while we can't control everything that happens to us,
Right?
we can always control our reaction.
Hmm.
So they actually viewed obstacles as a training ground,
Oh, interesting.
a chance to turn adversity into strength and wisdom.
So instead of letting an obstacle shut us down,
Yeah,
we use it as fuel to become more resilient.
exactly.
I can see how that connects to the story of John D. Rockefeller.
Yes,
Wasn't he the guy who actually thrived during a financial crisis?
absolutely.
Right.
During the Panic of 1857,
Uh-huh.
when everybody else was losing their minds, Rockefeller chose to study the situation.
Wow.
He learned from other people's mistakes, and he saw opportunity where others only saw disaster.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and guess what? That experience laid the foundation for his massive success later on.
Oh, wow. So it's like, it makes you think about how our brains are hardwired to see threats everywhere.
Right.
But Rockefeller's story shows us
Uh-huh.
that we can actually train ourselves to filter that fear response
Yeah.
and then make rational decisions, even when things are falling apart around us.
That's a powerful skill.
Yeah, a skill I think we could all use a little more of these days.
I agree.
Right.
Yeah, and here's the thing.
What's that?
A lot of the obstacles that we face today, they aren't even like physical threats.
Right.
They're these internal struggles.
Oh, okay.
Frustrations at work, unmet expectations, that nagging feeling of self-doubt.
Yeah, totally.
So the real challenge, and I think this is where the Stoics were so insightful, is learning to apply this mindset to those internal obstacles.
So the first step is really about shifting our perspective.
Yeah.
Like, we need to start seeing opportunity even within those difficult situations.
Right.
Okay? And then we use that new perspective to fuel our action.
Exactly.
But how do we actually make that mental flip? I mean, it's easy to say, oh, just look for the opportunity.
Yeah.
But what if all you see are problems?
Well, think about it like this.
Okay.
Let's take an example from military history.
Right.
When General Eisenhower was facing the German Blitzkrieg in World War II, it seemed like an unstoppable force.
Right.
But instead of just trying to defend against it,
Okay.
Eisenhower took the time to understand the enemy's strategy. And what he realized was that in their eagerness to attack,
Yeah.
the Germans were leaving their flanks exposed.
Wow. So he actually turned the enemy's strength into a weakness.
Precisely.
That's amazing. It's like that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Exactly.
Right.
That's a mindset that we can all apply.
Okay.
Whether we're facing a difficult boss or a tough competitor, or even just our own internal resistance to change.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that within the obstacle itself,
Okay.
there might be a hidden seed of our potential success. It might require some creativity, some outside the box thinking to uncover it,
Sure.
but it's often there.
Okay, I'm starting to get this.
So
So we shift our perspective.
right.
We spot the opportunity.
Yeah.
And then what? I imagine action is the next crucial piece of the puzzle.
I would agree with that.
Right. I mean, what good is a shifted perspective if we just sit around thinking about it?
You're absolutely right. Action is essential.
Okay.
And one of the best examples of this, I think, is the story of Amelia Earhart.
Oh, yeah.
Here's a woman who was determined to become a pilot in the 1920s when society basically told her, no way, that's not for women.
Wow. I can only imagine the courage it took to go against those societal norms back then.
Oh, absolutely.
But didn't she take some pretty big risks to make her dream happen?
Oh, she did?
I mean, weren't early flights incredibly dangerous?
Oh, yeah. Incredibly dangerous.
Wow.
But she was willing to take those risks.
Yeah.
They were calculated risks, of course,
Right.
driven by a deep understanding of her goals and a willingness to push boundaries.
Yeah.
And I think what's so inspiring about Earhart
Yeah.
is her relentless drive to just get started, to take action even when those first steps were small
Right.
or less than ideal.
So it's not just about any action.
No.
It's about persistent, directed action fueled by a clear vision of what we want to achieve.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah, think about Ulysses S. Grant during the Civil War.
Oh.
He was relentlessly focused on capturing Vicksburg.
Uh-huh.
It was a key Confederate stronghold.
Right.
And he just launched attack after attack.
Wow.
Despite initial failures and really heavy losses, it was his unwavering persistence that eventually led to victory.
And that's a theme that we see repeated throughout history.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, think about Thomas Edison and all those failed attempts to invent the light bulb.
Thousands of.
Yeah, he didn't give up after a few setbacks.
Yeah.
He just kept iterating, testing, refining
Yeah.
until he found a solution that worked.
What these figures teach us is that facing obstacles often requires us not only to act, but to act repeatedly.
Okay.
To be willing to adjust our approach.
Right.
And to never give up, even when we're faced with setbacks.
Okay, so we've got this powerful combination of shifted perspective
Right.
and persistent action.
Yeah.
But what about when we inevitably fail along the way? Because let's be honest, failure is a part of any journey worth taking.
It is, and that's where this modern concept of iteration comes in.
Okay.
So in the startup world, there's this idea of a minimum viable product, or MVP.
Okay.
And the idea is to create a very basic version of your product.
Right.
Get it out there quickly.
Okay.
And then learn from the feedback that you receive.
Oh, interesting. So they're essentially embracing failure as a feature.
Exactly.
It's like those stories of Grant and Edison we were just talking about. Their failures weren't dead ends.
Yep.
They were opportunities to gather information, to learn what didn't work, and to ultimately find a better approach.
That's the key.
Yeah, so the takeaway for us is to view failure not as a defeat,
Right.
but as a chance to refine our strategy and get closer to our goals.
I like it.
Okay, so amidst all this action and iteration,
Yeah.
we also have to remember what we can and can't control.
That's crucial.
And this is beautifully illustrated in the story of Reuben Hurricane Carter,
Oh, powerful story.
the boxer who was wrongly convicted of murder.
Yeah.
He could have easily given into despair and rage.
Of course.
But instead, he chose to focus on what he could control.
Right.
His attitude, his beliefs,
Yeah.
his inner strength.
Yeah. What a powerful example of applying that Stoic principle.
Right.
Focusing on what is up to us.
This reminds me of the serenity prayer.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that idea of accepting the things we cannot change.
Yeah.
And finding the courage to change the things we can.
It's a beautiful concept.
It's so powerful. I'm curious to hear more about how the Stoics approached this idea.
Well, they had a phrase for it. Ta ifhemin. Ta uk efemin. Which basically means what is up to us and what is not up to us.
Okay.
And what they believed was fascinating.
What's that?
They said we actually have complete control over our emotions, our judgments, our creativity, even our desires and decisions.
Wow. So they're basically saying that we have way more control than we often realize.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm really intrigued to dive deeper into this idea. I think we're just scratching the surface here.
I agree.
So let's take a quick break.
All right.
And then we'll come back and explore this concept even further in the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
Welcome back. I'm still thinking about that story about Reuben Hurricane Carter.
Yeah.
It's just amazing how he used those Stoic principles
Right.
to find strength and purpose even while facing such incredible injustice.
It really is.
It's a powerful story.
Yeah.
And that phrase, ta'afemin, ta'uk-efemin,
Right.
so simple but so profound.
I know.
It's like by focusing our energy on our internal world, you know, our own thoughts and actions, we can create a sense of agency, even in the midst of chaos.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Okay, good.
You know, as we've been diving into these sources, I keep noticing this recurring theme. It goes beyond just perception and action.
Oh, okay. What is it?
It's this inner strength,
Okay.
this almost unshakable resolve that allows people to not just face obstacles, but to thrive in the face of them.
It's like, it's not just about what we can do, but about who we are.
Exactly.
Right. It's that inner fortitude, the ability to bounce back from setbacks,
Right.
to stay focused even when everything seems to be falling apart.
And that brings us to the third element in this framework for turning obstacles into opportunities.
Okay, what's that?
The will.
The will.
Yes, it's that inner force, that fire in the belly that
Ugh.
keeps us going even when things get tough.
Right.
It allows us to not just endure hardship, but to emerge from it even stronger.
Okay, so we've got perception, action, and now the will.
That's right.
That's a powerful combination.
It is.
But can you give me like a concrete example of what that looks like in action?
Sure.
Because I think for a lot of us,
Yeah.
that concept of the will can feel kind of abstract.
Well, one of the most powerful examples I came across in our research
Okay.
is once again the story of Reuben Hurricane Carter.
Okay.
Think about the situation he was in.
Right.
Wrongly convicted of murder, sentenced to life in prison.
That's almost unimaginable.
It is.
How do you even begin to cope with that level of injustice?
It's tough.
How do you hold on to hope when it seems like the world is determined to crush you?
Well, for Carter, it was about refusing to be defined by his circumstances. He held on to his inner strength, his sense of self, even when everything else was stripped away.
Wow. And he didn't just passively endure it.
No.
He actually used that time to study,
He did.
to read, to become even stronger mentally and intellectually.
Yeah, he turned his prison cell into a crucible for growth.
That's incredible. It's a testament to the power of the human spirit.
It really is.
But okay, for those of us who aren't facing such extreme situations,
Yeah.
how can we cultivate that kind of unyielding will?
Well, one way is to practice what the Stoics called negative visualization.
Negative visualization.
Yeah.
That doesn't exactly sound like a recipe for a positive outlook.
I know, right?
How does that work?
Well, it's not about being pessimistic
Oh,
or dwelling on negativity. It's more like a mental fire drill.
Oh, okay.
So by imagining worst-case scenarios,
Yeah.
by mentally preparing ourselves for the challenges we'll face in life, we can actually reduce their power over us.
So it's like by facing our fears head on, we disarm them.
Yeah.
We take away their ability to paralyze us with fear or doubt.
That's the idea.
Wow.
And by mentally rehearsing how we would respond in those difficult situations,
Right.
we're building up that inner resilience, that
Yeah.
mental toughness, that allows us to stay calm and focused even when the pressure is on.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about proactively building up those mental muscles.
Exactly.
Just like an athlete trains their physical body,
Right.
we can train our minds to become more resilient and resourceful.
That's a great analogy.
And another key aspect of strengthening the will
Yeah.
is to practice self-discipline in all areas of life.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so it's about those
Yeah.
small, consistent acts of self-control,
Yes.
like choosing to go for a run even when we don't feel like it,
Uh-huh.
or resisting that extra slice of cake.
Exactly.
You know, those little things.
Every time we make that choice to align our actions with our values,
Right.
every time we resist a temptation or push ourselves a little harder,
Yeah.
we're strengthening that inner resolve.
Okay.
That will be crucial when we face bigger obstacles.
I'm starting to see how all of these pieces fit together,
Yeah.
right? Shifting our perception to see the opportunity,
Uh-huh.
taking persistent action, even when it's difficult,
Right.
and cultivating that inner strength, that will to keep going.
Yes.
You're getting it.
It's about building this internal framework
Okay.
that allows us to navigate the inevitable ups and downs of life.
Right. And there's so many other tools and techniques that we can use to strengthen this framework.
Oh, there are tons.
I'm ready to explore some more of those.
Great. Let's do it.
Okay. We're back for the final part of our deep dive into turning obstacles into opportunities.
All right.
We've talked about perception, action, the will, negative visualization.
Right.
There's a lot to process.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I'm curious, is there like one overarching takeaway from all of this?
You know, out of all the incredible stories and ideas we've discussed, the one that keeps coming back to me
Yeah.
is that you always have a choice.
Okay.
We can choose how we perceive those obstacles.
Right.
We can choose to take action or remain passive. And we can choose to cultivate that inner strength
Right.
that allows us not just to endure, but to truly thrive.
I love that. It's like we've been given this toolkit,
Yeah.
and now it's up to us to decide how we're going to use it.
Exactly. And the more we practice these principles,
Yeah.
the more they become a part of who we are.
Okay.
It's not just about overcoming a specific obstacle. It's about becoming the kind of person who sees obstacles as opportunities.
So it's a journey of self-transformation,
I would say so.
a process of becoming more resilient,
Yeah.
more resourceful, more in control of our own destinies.
Right.
And I'm feeling pretty inspired right now.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
As you continue on this journey,
Yeah.
There are a few key principles that I think are really helpful to keep in mind.
Okay, lay them on me.
Yeah.
What are these guiding principles?
First, remember that perception is key.
Okay.
The way we see the world literally shapes our reality.
So instead of seeing those obstacles as roadblocks or dead ends,
Right.
we can reframe them as challenges, as opportunities for growth and learning.
Exactly.
Okay.
And once we've shifted our perception,
Yeah.
we need to take action.
Right.
Don't get bogged down in overthinking or analysis paralysis.
Sure.
Just start moving, even if it's a small step in the right direction.
Action is key, but we also have to remember
Yeah.
that action often leads to failure, at least at first.
Oh, it does.
But we can't let that stop us, right?
Absolutely. Failure is just feedback.
Okay.
It's a chance to course correct and get closer to the right approach.
Hmm.
Embrace it as part of the process.
Right.
Learn from your mistakes and never give up on your goals.
Okay.
Persistence is essential.
Persistence and resilience.
Yeah.
Those are the hallmarks of anyone who's achieved anything worthwhile.
You got it.
Right.
And remember, amidst all this action and striving, don't forget to focus on what you can control.
Right.
Don't waste precious energy on things you can't change.
Okay.
Direct your efforts towards those areas where you can make a real difference.
So it's about focusing on our own thoughts, actions, and responses.
Right.
Even when the external world feels chaotic and unpredictable.
Exactly.
That's such a powerful reminder.
It is. And finally, remember, this is a journey, not a destination.
Okay.
There will always be new obstacles, new challenges to face.
Right.
But with the right mindset and the tools we've discussed today, you can turn those obstacles into opportunities for growth, transformation, and ultimately a richer, more fulfilling life.
What an incredible conversation.
It's been a pleasure.
I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on how to approach challenges.
I'm glad to hear that.
And I'm not just saying that I'm really feeling energized and ready to tackle whatever comes my way.
That's fantastic. You have everything you need within you to turn those obstacles upside down.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. It's been a true pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, keep learning, keep growing, and keep turning those obstacles into opportunities.